All right, boys and girls, get out a sheet of paper and write these 4 problems on there. The tangent of x equals 3, the tangent of x equals -4, the sine of x equals -2/3, and the cosine of x equals 2/5. And as you're writing this, firstly, let's think about, can we actually answer these questions? Remember that the values here are range values. These are the range, or the y's. So the question becomes, is 3 in the range of tangent? Is -4 in the range of tangent? Well, yes, the range of tangent is unrestricted. So yes, we can answer those questions. They're not special angle questions, but we'll use our calculator to get those answers. Now we come down here and look at sine and cosine, and when we think about the range of sine and cosine, that is very restricted, -1 to 1. However, the 2 values we have up here on the board are in the range, so we can answer those questions too. Sometimes we end up with what we call extraneous solutions because we wind up with the sine of x equals 3 or the cosine of x equals -4. And in that case, we would have to say it's not possible. So you're going to need to get your calculator out. Make sure that it's in radian mode, and we're going to use the inverse trig keys. This is how we find angles. You did this in geometry. We're going to hit the second sine. Okay, sorry you guys, that was an announcement about the powder puff game. I'm obviously recording this on a Wednesday afternoon. Anyway, you're going to use the second sine keys, second cosine, second tangent to find these angles, these non-special angle answers. You did this in geometry, so this should feel familiar to you, except I think you were in degree mode when you did that. All right, so let's go back to our question here. All right, we can answer these, all 4 of these questions. It's important, I've got a graph here or a coordinate plane here, a set of coordinate axes. So it's important to think about where these angles are. So the first question is the tangent of x equals 3. Well, tangent is positive. So I'm going to be looking for an angle in the first quadrant. So the tangent of 3 can be here, and the third quadrant. The tangent of 3 can be here. All right, so let's think about, let's identify on our axes, so you want to sketch this too, the values on the axes. Well, this is 0 degrees, 0 radians. This is pi over 2. Let's give it an equivalent expression, a decimal expression for that. It's about 1.57. Here I'm going to label the negative x-axis at pi, and that's obviously approximately 3.14. The negative y-axis is 3 pi over 2, and that's approximately 4.71. And of course, when we end back up at the positive x-axis, we're at 2 pi, which is approximately 6.28. Okay? All right, that may help us decide where we need to be. All right, so back to the question at hand. All right, so you're going to type into your calculator the angle whose tangent is 3. That's what it should look like on your calculator screen. And when you do, you're going to get 1.149. 3 decimal places, please. Oh, sorry, I got an extra 1 there. 1.249. Apologize. 1.249. All right, where is 1.249? Well, it looks to me like it's in the first quadrant where I needed it to be between 0 and 1.57. But I need to find another angle. And I need to find an angle in the third quadrant. Well, how am I going to get there? Let's think. I am half a circle away from the first quadrant to the third quadrant. What if I added pi to that first angle? Would that take me to an angle that also has a tangent value of 3? Well, it sure would. And so these are our 2 angle answers. X equals these 2 values, 1.249 and 4.391, and they're not special angles, but I can't answer that question. All right? Okay, let's answer the second tangle question, the tangent x equals -4. Well, I can certainly answer that question. Range, it's included in the range. So let's type into the calculator the angle whose tangent is -4. And this time the calculator is going to give us a negative answer. No surprise there. It's going to give me -1.326. Well, why did it give me a negative answer? Well, I used the inverse graph to get this angle answer. So it gave me the negative version of the angle whose tangent is -4. It gave me the negative version of that. Now remember, when we solve over the interval 0 to 2 pi. So I can't use that answer because it's negative. I can only use positive answers. Also, where else is tangent negative? Well, tangent's negative in the second quadrant also. So not only do I need to fix the angle I just found and make it positive, but I need to find another angle, which is a half circle away in the second quadrant. So here's how we're going to handle this one. I'm going to add pi twice. We're going to add pi here, and that's going to take me to the second quadrant, and that'll give me 1.816. All right, 1.816 is definitely a number between 1.57 and 3.14. And then I'm going to add pi again to that. So this is one of my answers. And when I do that, I get 4.958. So those are the two answers to that question. All right, 4.958 is a number in the fourth quadrant between 4.71 and 6.28. So I feel comfortable with that response. All right, now let's answer the sign question. I've got the sine of x equals -2/3. So same story. I'm going to type into the calculator the angle whose sine is -2/3. All right, and that's going to give me -0.730. All right, well, where is sine negative? Sine is negative in the fourth quadrant. And the negative angle answer, no surprise, that's right there. Remember, I asked a question about the inverse trig graph, the inverse sine graph, and it's also here in the third quadrant. That's where sine is negative. All right, well, I know how to make this positive. Okay, definitely know how to make that positive. Let's just add 2 pi to that, and that will give me the positive version of that. So if I add 2 pi to that, it gives me 5.553. Perfect. That's between 4.71 and 6.28. All right, now I'm going to have to do a little massaging and a little manipulating to get the angle in quadrant 3. Here's what I'm going to do. If I typed into the calculator the angle whose sine is +2/3, it would give me positive 0.730. So if I use the negative, I get the negative. I get the positive, I positive, and that should make sense. If I ask you what is the sine of pi/6, you would tell me 1/2. If I said what is the sine of -pi/6, you would tell me -1/2. That's the way sine works. All right. Now, if I do that, that puts me in the first quadrant. How about I add half a circle to that, which is pi, to put me in the third quadrant. So that answer would be 3.872. So here are the two angle answers that satisfy that problem. All right. All right, now let's handle the cosine question. The cosine of x equals 2/5. So I type into the calculator the angle whose cosine is 2/5, and that gives me 1.159. Well, that's in the first quadrant. The angle whose cosine is 2/5 is in the first quadrant. I like that answer. I can actually use that answer. Yay, I don't have to add 2 pi or add anything to it. I can actually use that answer. All right, well, where else is cosine positive? Cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant. All right, so let's see. How am I going to get to the fourth quadrant? Well, how about we try this? Let's take 2 pi, a full circle, and subtract the angle from the first quadrant. And that will give me the fourth quadrant angle. So that would equal 5.124. All right, so there are the two angle answers where the cosine equals 2/5. All right, typically, most of the problems are going to be tangent related, but every now and then we see a sine or a cosine, and I wanted you to be able to see what happens. So very soon we'll be encountering some of these, and obviously you see they require a calculator to get an answer.